All right, our next guest is on the verge of stardom if she's not already there. She's in the latest Twilight film called New Moon. It's a massive film, obviously. She might be the best part in this movie. Plus, she's in a new picture called Up in the Air. This is Jason Reitman's film, the follow-up to the much-talked-about Juno, and Anna's performance is stellar. People are talking Oscar. Anna Kendrick is here. Here's her bio.
George, you're right. Anna Kendrick is one to watch. She's only in her early 20s, but already she's got quite the resume. Nominated for a Tony Award, she's got 2 blockbuster vampire movies, Twilight.
Hey, you're from Arizona, right?
Yeah.
Aren't people from Arizona supposed to be, like, really tan?
Plus the sequel, New Moon. And now some serious Oscar buzz for her new film, Up in the Air.
If you guys don't grow up, it's like you need to pee on everything.
Anna grew up in Portland, Maine, and by the age of 12, she was on Broadway in the hit musical High Society. That got her the Tony nomination, one of the youngest nominees ever. Eventually she got into movies, first in the musical called Camp.
The goddamn show must go on, so let's get cracking, shall we?
And then a coming-of-age comedy called Rocket Science. Then came the Twilight films.
Oh my God.
And now, Up in the Air. It's directed by Jason Reitman, who also made Juno, and the star is George Clooney. So no pressure or anything, but Anna more than holds her own. In fact, there's a lot of talk she could win the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress.
What, kind of relationship do you have?
You know, casual.
Sounds pretty special.
Everybody, say hello to Anna Kendrick, please. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
How are you?
I'm great. I'm so glad to be back in Toronto.
Yeah, that's right. You shot a film. You shot here, you shot in Vancouver. You spent a lot of time in Canada.
I know. Somebody was telling me that I'm an honorary Canadian citizen, which made me happy. Except that people at Customs still give me really weird looks when I tell them that I'm an actor, which is strange because we live in this bubble where everybody knows everything about film. And they always ask me what I've been in, and I usually just say Twilight, because it's the thing most people have heard of. And the last guy at Customs said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't get the Sci-Fi Channel." Yeah. He was like, "But you have to start somewhere, so good luck."
Trust me, you're gonna like that. That's a much better reaction, right? That's amazing. The Sci-Fi Channel.
Yeah, but it's actually, that's the one project where it's really refreshing when people don't know what it is. I'm always thrilled when people know other movies that I've been in, because for the most part they've been really small movies. But when somebody doesn't know what Twilight is, it's actually pretty exciting.
Well, that's going to change on this one. I think Up in the Air is it's a film because you get to really carry this film. Which is, think about it, you're in a film with Vera Farmiga and George Clooney, and a lot of the emotional work in this film has to be carried by your character. How did you, like when you, I know Jason wrote the character around you because it wasn't in the original book, but how did it get to you, this particular film?
I just got the script as any other script, and I went in and auditioned, and I was so sure that Jason Reitman hated me. I thought, he either hates me or he's just cold and terrifying as a human being, and I'm gonna have to work with him and it's gonna be awful. But he told me afterwards that he was trying to stay really reserved and not kind of show his cards because he didn't want to psych me out.
Right.
He thought that telling me that he had me in mind and really wanted me to nail it would have psyched me out. But I think I felt pretty psyched out. We still debate over what was the right choice. So if you see, the next time you see him, tell him I'm right.
You're right? Okay. Yeah, sure. Anna sent you. Wait, but did you think you blew the audition?
Oh yeah, oh no, I was so certain that it was, I just sort of resigned myself to being really disappointed that it didn't work out because the script was so beautiful. And my manager called me over the weekend and said, "I think you're gonna get an offer on Monday." And I assured her up and down it was absolutely not a possibility. I was like, "You weren't there, he hates me."
It's not an easy role, but is it the kind of role you looked for?
Yeah, I'm so attracted to roles for smart, strong women. Particularly, the rare thing about this is I knew from the beginning that it wasn't a romantic part. It said on the cover sheet, it explained a little bit about the character. And so I was reading the script and I kept expecting her to just disappear from the script because I knew that this role is for a young woman and it has nothing to do with romance or sex, and it's just about her being interesting and well-rounded and smart and going toe-to-toe with George Clooney. And she's crazy in her own right. She's got a lot of problems, but that's the really rare and beautiful thing about this role.
Did you always want to get into a Clooney film and not have a romantic part?
I never really thought about it that much. I mean, it was the shocking thing about it was every time I told a friend that I was doing this movie, the first thing they asked was if I got to kiss George Clooney.
But you said not on camera.
I said nothing of the sort. You're trying to get me in trouble,
No,
man.
I'm trying to present an opportunity for you to get in trouble. It's all you, not me.
I'm just gonna sit quietly and be a lady.
Much was made about on the set. You and Clooney it was actually a fun set in a sense. You guys like ribbed each other a lot.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think he sort of like went out of his way to make sure that I was comfortable and to do what I had to do, kind of give him so much crap throughout the entire set. He gave me so much crap about Twilight because I was shooting New Moon while I was shooting Up in the Air, and he was like, every time, I don't know, whenever he just felt like giving me some crap, he would just be like, oh, I'm sorry, it's not Twilight. So sorry. And so when I had to go and disappear for a couple days and shoot some stuff on New Moon, when I came back, I was like persona non grata.
Really?
Yeah, it was really bad. And I'm sure that this is born out of insecurity, and I assured him that I would try to put in a good word for him, try to get him a part in Breaking Dawn, because I'm sure that that's really what it's about.
It's always been Clooney's goal.
Yeah.
To be in that.
I know, it's everybody's goal.
As you do more and more, and because you're still relatively new at this. I mean, you got into it when you were a kid. Were you 10 when you went out for Annie or something?
Oh God! Oh, you already know that story. It's so embarrassing. Yeah,
Well, the little Orphan Annie's a great character.
No, I know, but I wish it were something cooler. I wish there were like a really badass musical for kids that I could have.
Where I played a crackhead, and it was.
Yeah. No, it was. They were. Maybe you recall, they revived Annie, and I was 10, and every 10-year-old girl in the country wanted to go out for it. And so I went to New York and met with an agent basically so that I could get an audition for Annie. And it didn't work out, but they sent me out for some other stuff, and I ended up doing a show on Broadway when I was 12.
What's that like for a 12-year-old?
It's not easy, but I wouldn't have traded it for anything. It was.
But do you know what it is though when you're 12?
I think because I ended up being nominated for a Tony, and I had no idea what that meant. Like I knew what the Tonys were, and I had an understanding of the concept, I got it, but in no way did I actually get it. And I think that it would have done me a disservice had I really understood it. I think I would have been so freaked out. And I think it's sort of nice that I can look back on it now and know that it happened. But at 12, I think that just sort of messes with your mind.
How do you go through 12, 13, 14, 15, 18, 20, or whatever, and not be a pageant kid? You know, the ones who have such a bizarre view of the world that it's almost impossible for them to truly appreciate what's happening around them.
Well, I felt like I was sort of living a double life when I was growing up. I went to public school in Maine, just went to regular high school.
That's why you're an honorary Canadian, because it's Maine, right? It's closer to us than it is to them.
Yeah, no, actually, I had never seen the show, and so I wanted to do some research. I was watching some clips on YouTube, and I saw the first one that came up was you interviewing Ryan Reynolds, and he was saying that you guys have a reputation for being too nice, and that Canadians are actually kind of tough. And I sort of feel the same way, particularly because people find out I'm from Maine, and the first thing they usually say is like, "Oh, I summered in Maine," and I feel like, yeah, I wintered in Maine. Come to Maine, we'll toughen you up, you know. So it breeds hardy folk.
For sure.
Yeah, but I would just sort of go to New York and like workshop new Broadway shows, and I moved to New York. I graduated early so that I could do a show when I was 17. So I felt like I was sort of leading a double life. I was much like a child spy, except not as cool.
But where were you spying, in the school or in New York?
No. I just mean in the sense that I was living a double life, but an incredibly dorky double life. Musical theater is not exactly the same. Aside
from them making fun of you, did Clooney teach you anything? Did you teach him anything about acting?
I think the ultimate lesson from George Clooney is, it sounds so weird, is basically just about the fact that he's been this famous for so long, and he's been working so hard for so long and proven himself again and again, and he manages to be so kind and go out of his way for other people, and he never exhibits any kind of diva behavior, and it sort of gives you hope, particularly when I work with all these young actors and they're just blowing up, and you have to worry about how that's going to affect them. And I think if George Clooney can do it, nobody else has any excuse.
All right, are you ready for 220? We're going to take a commercial break, and then I'm just going to rapid fire some stuff at you.
Oh, yeah, yes, please. Yeah.
And half the answers, it doesn't really matter what you say. They're for fun.
That's excellent news.
The other half, figure out your personality.
Okay.
220 with Anna Kendrick when we come back. George Clooney, he fought vampires in From Dusk Till Dawn. Did that strain or help your working relationship with him?
That would have been good ammo.
Back to Anna Kendrick on the show. She's got Up in the Air, this new movie. Before we get into the 220, Especially when you start performing and you're young, I find there are two kinds of performers: those who have a very clear career path, and those who have no career path whatsoever, and it's come what may. Do you fit into either of those categories?
Oh my goodness, I feel like that's a trap. I don't know.
No, it's not a trap. No, the trick is either answer is right or wrong. It doesn't matter. It's like,
I feel like I have no career path. Then no expectations. It's better.
but that's not true.
See, it was a setup.
No, it's not a setup. No. I actually wonder if you do look at your choices in terms of the catalog. Do you look and go, I need a film like this, I want to do a film like
No,
that?
I think actually when people ask me questions like that, I always feel like you're doing yourself a disservice if you say certain things that you want to do, because you never know, you never know how you're going to feel tomorrow morning, and you never know if the right version of that thing is going to come along. I will say there is part of me that I feel like will always secretly want to do a movie musical. It's just, I love musicals, and I remember when I saw Chicago in theaters, I had just got my wisdom teeth out and I was on painkillers, and I was like, this is amazing.
Just completely jacked.
Yeah, I saw like Cell Block Tango on Cody, and I was like, this is not real.
220, roll the animation, please. All right, we'll get the clock on the thing. Would you rather live up in the air or under the ocean?
Under the ocean.
Would you rather be bitten by the acting bug or crushed by the love bug?
Definitely acting bug.
Okay, who's the second best Anna in the world after you?
Anna Karenina from Band of Outsiders.
All right, cool. Are bagels the thinking person's donut?
I think donuts are the thinking person's donuts. I love Tim Hortons donuts. I only get them here.
Correct answer, by the way. Correct. Favorite movie of all time?
The Women from 1939.
Nice, okay. George Clooney, he fought vampires in From Dusk Till Dawn. Did that strain or help your working relationship with him?
You know, we never discussed that. I should have brought that up. That would have been good ammo. Damn.
You killed my kind. That would be awesome. Favorite actor ever?
Katharine Hepburn.
It's a pretty good choice. Complicated choice. She had a hell of a life. Is that your career path? This is a trap, by the way.
That is an absolute trap. I'm not answering that. You're trouble.
Favorite guilty pleasure song?
Bootylicious.
If we dim the lights and put on...
Absolutely not.
No?
Stop right there.
Vampires or werewolves?
Werewolves.
Okay, what's the first thing that pops into your mind when I say the word frogurt?
Frogs with intestinal problems.
We would have also accepted frozen yogurt, but I will take frogs with intestinal problems for sure. Is there a role that, I mean, you said you watched Chicago when you were a host, but is there a role that you've seen a girl play and think, that's the one I want to have?
Well, they remade The Women already, but as The Women is my favorite film, the role that Rosalind Russell plays in that, Sylvia Fowler in the original The Women.
Can you make it again?
Yeah, everybody's ready, right?
Yeah. Wasn't long enough. Would you rather be able to control the weather or travel in time?
Travel in time.
What's the one thing you wish people paid more attention to?
Independent film.
Paul Newman or Robert Redford?
Oh, I just had this debate with my roommate. We watched Sundance Kid, and in the end, although it went back and forth several times, I had to go Paul Newman.
The film is called Up in the Air. Anna Kendrick, everybody.